Namaste and greetings, and welcome to week 2 of spring. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I want to start off with, because the idea is dreams. What dream did I dream that I need to dream a new dream without making sure that I'm dreaming? Say what now? Now, I specifically mentioned that because if you recall last week, I said that Dr. Holmes referenced this idea of what it means for us to be a practical idealist. And what he continues to say is we are practical idealists, but not dreamers. Now, it's important to specify, or once again, for clarity's sake, that when he's referencing dreamers, he's talking about those people who just sit back like, oh, a world that works for all. And twiddle their metaphysical thumbs without actually building, changing, evolving, and creating. So it's okay to dream as long as we are putting action to the dreams. This is also why he reminds us, he doesn't simply say treat. He says treat and move. Treat and move. Now, I find it interesting that he says treat and move your feet, which is very similar to something that Frederick Douglass said, referencing, I prayed for freedom for X amount of years, but it wasn't until I prayed with my legs, when I prayed with my feet, that I attained my freedom. Once again, there's this idea of how do we make our dreams tangible and real? Faith without works. Once again, how do we make whatever it is tangible? How do we make our imagination tangible? It's one of the reasons why I love the idea of the Disney Imagineers, because they are engineers of the imagination. They take what they imagine and they engineer it so that others can experience it. How do we engineer health and well-being, love, joy, peace on earth so that others can experience it? There's a quote, if I'm not mistaken, it's attributed to Steve Jobs, but I don't know who the originator of this quote is, but, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it directly in my, but it basically says, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in square holes, those people who see things differently, do things differently, who don't necessarily like the rules. They are the people that change things because they are the people who think differently. They see the world differently. How are we encouraged to be crazy enough to believe in a world that works for all? And not just believe in it, but crazy enough, troublemaker enough, like Representative John Lewis would say, get into some good trouble. Are we willing to be troublemaker enough? Or as Bayard Rustin would say, be an angelic troublemaker. Are we willing to be troublemaker enough to upset the status quo of war, to upset the status quo of lack and scarcity, food deserts, to upset the status quo of corruption, ineffective educational systems? Are we troublemaker enough? Are we visionary enough? Are we practitioner enough? License or no license. If we are thinking beings, then we are practicing science of mind and spirit. Are we practitioner enough to put into practice what it means to dream a new dream? to imagine beyond what has been. I remember when I was in either 6th grade or 7th grade, middle school, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I was taking Spanish. And we went on a field trip to Heinz Hall or the Benedum Center, one or the other. And we saw the Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote de la Mancha. And in my class of 25, 30 other adolescents, I was crying. To dream the impossible dream, tears. To fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow. Because that place in my life, that was me. The sorrow, the pain of the abuse that I had already experienced in my 12 years of life, 13 years of life. All of it, the verbal, the physical, the emotional, all of this trauma and abuse, all of this low self-worth and self-loathing, to bear with unbearable sorrow. And I cried. And that song cracked something open. It cracked open something where I started piecing together any of the good that I could possibly pull together. It was almost like the Japanese art of kintsugi, where the pottery is broken and you rejoin it with gold. I was gathering the pieces and joining it with gold. With whatever gold I could find. The gold of the superheroes. One reason why I'm so into science fiction and DC and Marvel comics, and because that was the gold that kept me going, that kept the dream alive, the dream that said, I can be happy. The dream that said, I can be loved. All of it, everything that I learned from Fred Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street, all of these things I brought to the forefront of my mind, and I used the gold to rejoin the pottery that was my life, to dream the impossible dream. And our invitation today is to say, how can I pray the impossible prayer? How can I be the impossible agent of change to not only envision a world that works for all, but to be a practical idealist who does it in this three-dimensional realm while also being connected to the infinite place where that which is unseen and yet to be seen connect to that which is seen. That which is heard connects to that which is unheard and that which is yet to be heard. How do I bridge these together? And trust and believe, I understand it is not always easy. It is not always comfortable. Because in 2022, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I had to bring the gold back here. There's something about facing one's mortality that causes you to get very clear. And even in all of the emotions and all of the thoughts and all of the things that surface, fears, anxieties, worries, hopes, all of it right here. And what is my practice? There's the practice of step fully into the grief. Step fully into the sadness. Be there, be present, and be there. Do not be overcome by it, but be there, be present, feel it. I don't want to feel this. I know, but it's part of the process that moves you through it. It's almost like the image of the car wash where the car is being pulled through and and it's chaos and there's bubbles and there's water and there's swish swish and sponges and swish, and you can't see anything other than the chaos. But as you move through, eventually you get to the other side and you have a very clear vista and the ability to move forward. And so I moved forward. Okay, Doc, I hear what you're saying. What do we do now? What is the path forward? What are my options? These are my options. Let me take them to prayer and meditation. This is what I'm choosing. Now, what do we do? And moment by moment, question by question. And if I were to tell you that every day right now is like, it's all good, it's all great, and I would be lying to you. Because there are days when that whole idea, because I'm still in the healing process. From the moment of surgery, April 2023, it takes minimum a full year for your body to reacclimate and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm still in the healing process. And now we're not just talking physically. I'm still healing emotionally. Every day that I leave the house, because part of what comes with this whole prostate removal thing is incontinence. So when I leave the house, unless it's a very short distance, I wear adult diapers. Depends. I don't like that. I really don't like that. But it is currently the reality of my experience. And so, what is my invitation? To let that hold me back? Sometimes it does. Sometimes I don't even feel like I want to go to the movies to see Aquaman 2, but I don't feel like dealing with the whole, because I'm going to have to get up during the movie and go to the bathroom. I'm going to have to 2 or 3 times sometimes. So I stay home. No judgment. It is what is. And yet, even in the midst of that, I am still invited to dream, to move into a space of, with what is practical idealist, with what is as my experience, what is my invitation to move forward into a greater expansive expression of my life? How am I invited to show up? Even when I feel upset, how am I invited to show up? Even when I don't want to be bothered in conversation, how do I show up? Even when I would rather be by myself, how do I show up? Even when whatever, how do I show up? I get to choose. Do I always choose, quote unquote, the high road? No. Sometimes I choose the most comfortable road. And that's fine. As long as I do not allow myself to become so addicted to the comforts of that I refuse to remember dream. Dream the impossible dream. Feel whatever you feel and rise and go, my lyrics, and go out and live. How am I invited to engage life as fully as possible? And so that's the invitation we are in this week. What is the dream I have dreamt? Has it been a nightmare? Am I willing to awaken from that in order to dream a new dream? A dream where I am loved, a dream where I am supported, a dream where the only kind of competition is life-affirming competition. Because, see, competition in and of itself is not the enemy. When it becomes competition that needs to suppress and oppress and hurt another, Now it is non-life affirming competition. But competition in and of itself, Ben plays tennis. That's not right. It's a friendly game. We may not like losing, but it's a friendly game for the energy of engaging in. Okay, cool. But now what? So, how are we invited to get out there and dream a new dream? To get out there involved in all aspects of life that are life affirming. How can I dream of competition that is life affirming? How can I dream of relationships that are reciprocal in nature and supportive and compassionate and kind? No matter where were you born? No matter what side of the railroad tracks, no matter how do I dream a greater dream? And it starts with me. How am I dreaming a greater dream for myself? Because once again, I cannot give someone something to drink from my cup if my cup is empty or there's just a couple of droplets in there. How do I ensure that my cup is full to overflow so that what I am drinking is from my saucer, the overflow, and what I am giving is from the overflow? How do we get into an energetic space where we are willing to ground our dreams with the foundation upon which we can now build the beloved community and all that that means to be inclusive, to foster belonging, true belonging, and knowing that relationships are messy. And if we were to remove the messiness of life, where is the joy in creating pottery if there's no mess? Part of the pottery is the mess. Part of the knitting is the chaos of the yarn that has yet to be woven into, knitted into the garment, the hat, the scarf. There's this ball of it can be pretty messy, and that's fine. That's part of the process. But how do we step all in? You can't go swimming without getting wet. Even if you put on scuba gear, it's still getting wet. You in the suit may not get wet, but you're still immersed in the liquidy fluidity of, so you're still. So dream. This week, give yourself the space to dream. Give yourself the space to imagine. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Give yourself the space to, if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it. Dream. And have fun dreaming. Breathe. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation. See you soon.